Welcome to my Personality Elements basic course for personality types, where you will learn to understand your own nature and the nature of others. So let me briefly explain what the basic and personality elements are. Well, the entire world is composed of basic elements, which are the elements we are very familiar with from science classes in school, from our life. These elements are air, fire, water, earth, and ether, which represent space or emptiness. But where did all of this originate from? Long time ago, Aristotle identified these exact basic elements. Moreover, they were described by Plato. They can be seen in various sciences such as Vastu, the science of space, Ayurveda, the science of health, and astrology. References to the basic elements can be found in the Vedas, specifically in the Bhagavad Gita. If you are interested in this topic, you can also find information about the basic elements there. Additionally, the Chinese tradition describes basic elements, but with some differences. They include wood, metal, feng shui, offering a slightly different perspective. However, we are specifically interested in the division into these 5 elements, as I mentioned. If you approach it from a non-esoteric perspective, let's say you're a materialistic person with no interest in esoteric matters, then consider this. Even Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist and psychotherapist, described archetypes of people based on the elements. It's fascinating. And if psychology itself explores the concept of basic elements, it means it really works. If we look at socionics, it's essentially the same science that describes specific personality types, and the basic elements can also form somewhat of PE socionics, which I refer to as PE as an abbreviation for the personality elements. This approach is much more accurate, practical, and applicable in various fields than classical socionics. Describing the basic elements in this way on different levels goes beyond categorizing someone as an air, earth, or fire person. It involves recognizing levels, the first, second, third, and fourth. Initially, there were 3 levels of personality elements. This concept was developed by Sergei Nikiforov, the founder of Nikiforov Online University and School. He singled out these 3 levels of personality elements. And that's when I discovered the basic elements theory, and I supported and further developed this science in its current form. I also created a simple and effective system for applying it to life and uncovering each person's individuality. Depending on their personal PE gene, which refers to their personal set of basic elements. I myself added the 4th social level, 0 and other levels. Our students explore a wealth of information on the subject. However, all of this information is strictly practical and applicable. It doesn't clutter the mind, but instead finds practical application in life, leading to rapid and effective improvement. So what is important to understand? Well, you can already grasp the fact that each of these natural elements has its own qualities, and they are not the same. Air is light, fire is hot, water flows. We can gain some understanding of this just by recalling the movie, The Fifth Element. Space is boundless and the earth is hard. Just as the world is composed of basic elements, we as humans, being materialized parts of this world, are also made up of basic elements, the elements. And these basic elements shape our individual nature. And this nature differs for each person because the sequence of different basic elements varies. There is one dominant basic element that strongly prevails and defines our essence, the first basic element. We will discuss this in more detail later. Why is it important to know your personality elements? The combination of the elements is unique to each individual and is assigned to us at birth. I'm not saying it's some kind of a grand purpose or mission behind, but if you like to think of it that way, you can, because we can't currently check it anyway. And this set of basic elements determines a person's character, their nature, their weaknesses, strengths, certain qualities, and character traits. These personality elements, this specific quality and trait is what a person needs to fulfill a certain task in life. And that very combination is enough to be happy, to contribute to the world with one's talents, as well as fulfill one's purpose. However, it so happens that we often tend to focus on our weaknesses and criticize ourselves for certain behaviors, for things we don't like, for anything that hinders us on the path towards a goal, which may not even be our true goal in the first place. And we often choose tasks that don't suit us at all. It may even be a path that doesn't fit us. For example, a water person suddenly starts noticing a fire lifestyle propaganda and thinks, I like it, it excites me, I want to be like that too, and tries to emulate it. They see that a fire person is happy doing so, and they think, well, then I'll be happy too. They start imitating it and end up ruining their life because they are not suited for it. As Einstein said, it's like a fish trying to climb trees. And now we will all come down from the trees and finally understand who is a fish, who is a bird, and who is something else. Therefore, a person who goes against their nature, and I'm not referring to any bad qualities right now, but you will understand when you do the assignments and watch the upcoming lessons. When I say a person goes against their nature, I mean someone who is emotional but tries to be rational, suppressing their emotions, tries to maintain a certain facade, makes a strong effort to restrain their emotions. On the other hand, someone who is naturally rational tries to force their emotions flow freely. It can sometimes look quite comical. Suddenly, even slow water becomes eager to work faster and faster, like fire, trying to do things quickly, but in the end it gets exhausted. As a result, people lose a significant amount of energy because, in addition to moving forward in life, making external efforts and taking steps in life, progressing, they start fighting with themselves, losing a great deal of energy in this internal struggle. That's why it's important to understand your own nature, what suits you and what doesn't, and what path is right for you. It doesn't have to be the same path as someone else's. Just because another person found happiness that exactly way doesn't mean it will help me too. Therefore, a path that leads to the happiness of a fire person will most likely lead to the unhappiness of a water, air, or earth person. If a person goes against their nature still manifests itself, but it manifests in a negative way very much, and we can see unhappy, embittered individuals who complain and whine constantly. These are negative manifestations. This is not the focus right now. It will be covered in more detail in future lessons. For now, let's concentrate on the basics of the personality elements. If you don't know your first elements yet, don't worry. We will definitely calculate them. If you don't know your time of birth, don't worry either. It will be explained what to do in that case, and regardless, you will recognize yourself in the description. Everything will be fine, don't worry. Every person has multiple basic elements, as I mentioned before. We identify some key ones, and when combined, they form a unique code of personality, PE-Gen. So it could be, for example, 4 water aspects, meaning all the elements could be completely identical. Or water, fire, earth, and air in one set, all different. Or there could be something like earth, earth, water, water, various combinations. And we don't specifically consider the ether of space and human manifestations of the basic elements because it's like the cosmos, it's like the emptiness of space. And when we say air people, we mean that the first basic element in the personal set of elements is air and no other. And we say fire person, even though there may be a fire and 3 waters afterwards in his set of personality elements, he is still a fire person. And what does it mean to have additional 3 waters? You will find out a little later in our course. This course will provide you with an understanding of different psychotypes in people and human behavior in a very visual and practical manner.